Hi, everyone. My name is Monique Martin, and I'm a marketing manager here at Claritas. I'm very excited to host today's webinar, Find Your Next Customer with Tailor-Made Targets. I know this is a highly anticipated presentation, but before we get started, let's just take a moment to go through how you can actively participate today. As always, we record our webinars and we'll email a link to the playback to you within 24 to 48 hours so you're able to review the content at your leisure. Now, if I can direct your attention to your computer screen, you'll see a control panel. When you first joined the webinar, you selected the type of audio you wanted, but at any point over the next hour, if you wish to change that, just select your preferred option from the available drop-down menu. If you're feeling particularly chatty, go ahead and share your thoughts on today's presentation using hashtag Claritas Webinars on your social media. You never know, we might just repost on our page. Last up on the housekeeping list is how you can interact with us today. The system automatically muted you when you join, which helps us cut down on potential background noise, but we still want to hear your questions and comments. All you have to do is type them into the questions box on your personal control panel. We're not always able to get to every question live, but don't worry, we do always follow up on questions that are asked after the conclusion of the day's events. We have two longtime Claritons presenting today, and I'm happy I get the chance to give a quick introduction on both. First up is Suzanne Eller. Suzanne has been with Claritas for many years, first working as an analyst on custom projects for our financial service clients. Then she moved into a sales and client service role. In recent years, she's managed the development and launch of our new Prism Premier segmentation system. And in her current role as a product strategy director, she manages the implementation and launch of new Claritas data and solutions. Our next presenter is Carrie Hodges. Carrie joined Claritas a couple of years ago as an analytics consultant. She works with our technology, telco, auto, financial, and media clients on their custom analytics needs. Today, she's going to be talking about a special project she recently completed with one of her clients in the telco space. So I want to make sure our presenters have plenty of time to speak to you guys today. So I'll mute myself and Suzanne can officially kick us off. Or actually, I'll kick us off with a quick poll question for you guys.
Thanks, Monique.
So we have a poll question. Don't feel pressure on this one. This is a very easy one. It's just asking you, what type of segmentation do you currently use? Your options are, we don't currently use segmentation. We currently use a syndicated segmentation solution. We have a custom segmentation solution, or you don't know. So I'll give everyone a couple of seconds to vote here, and then we'll see what the majority says. All right, let's see. So it looks like the majority of you use a syndicated segmentation solution, about 60% of you, and about 35% have a custom solution. So we're going to talk more about the custom side of things now. And now Suzanne can officially kick us off.
Thanks, Monique, and thanks to all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule today for joining us. It's also great to have a quick summary from the poll of what you all currently use to segment your customers. Depending on your current situation, you might view our solutions from a different perspective, whether you were part of that 60% that is using syndicated or part of the minority that are using custom. But the good news is there's no prerequisite for segmentation on demand. Regardless of what type of segmentation you're using today, or even if you're using any segmentation at all, we can help you find your next customers with tailor-made targets. In this new world of big data that we now live in, there's so much data flowing through your systems. At times, I'm sure it can feel like too much, so much that it's difficult to harness it or to figure out what the right direction is, what the right path is to take. You need some way to organize the chaos so that you can efficiently and effectively reach your best customers. Segmentation can help you bring some organization to the chaos as you begin to group your customers based on their characteristics and behaviors. In doing so, you can more effectively pinpoint the right customers, the best customers, the ones that will bring you the greatest ROI. And then other prospects like them. So not just using the segmentation to look at your existing base, but to be able to find others like them out in the market. What's most unique about Claritas segmentation is that it can be applied not only to your CRM file and prospect list, but also to almost any source of behavioral data or list, including a wide variety of surveys and panels and all kinds of other third-party data assets. Through these links to external data, Claritas can help you paint a more complete picture of your customers and prospects so that you can target, plan, and buy smarter. It can tell you things like, what are their attitudes? What do they like to watch? What do they do online? Where do they shop? What channels do they prefer? Are they big online shoppers, or still, people who prefer to go to retail locations? And how can you best reach them across all the different platforms and all the different options that you have for advertising these days? So all of these questions can be answered through the many data linkages that are available through a segmentation system. And all of these insights contribute to that more complete picture of your customers. But simply put, your customers are unique. They can't be effectively marketed to using simple demographic characteristics. To develop the right messaging, you need to know as much as you can about them. Having a clear picture of your customers allows you to deliver the right message that will resonate with them. The additional insights exposed through segmentation linkages enable you to organize and personify your customers and prospects using the characteristics and behaviors most important to your business. You can be more efficient and effective in marketing to the consumers that matter most. Claritas offers a wide variety of segmentation solutions to help you find your best customers, both within your existing base and beyond. One of the most exciting developments in recent years is segmentation on demand. With this approach to custom segmentation, Claritas can help you take your use of segmentation to the next level. I just spoke about how Claritas segmentation enables you to organize and personify your customers so that you can target, plan, and buy smarter. Our varied sources of behavioral data allow for the creation of targets who might be deal seekers or heavy buyers within a specific category, or consumers who are very environmentally conscious, just as a few examples. But how can you take those to the next level? How can you target even smarter? How can you create even more focused targets? Instead of general deal seekers, how can you identify and segment deal seekers who are likely users of your app? Instead of high-value consumers who spend at higher levels across a broad range of services, how can you target only those who are high-value subscribers to your specific service, or heavy buyers of your most profitable bundle of products? Or not just those likely to switch brands, but those who will switch and be partial to your brand? What is the best choice when you have a need for more refined and focused targets? Different systems meet different needs. A syndicated segmentation system allows you to organize and prioritize your customers. And if you think of it in terms of clothing, it's something ready to wear that's off the rack. You have lots of options to choose from, but no real input into the design or into how it was created. You might like the pattern of a certain shirt, but like the location of a pocket better on a different shirt. So what if your specific needs aren't met by any one shirt? You can't find one that combines all of those things that you like about several different options. It might be time to consider something tailor-made in that situation, where you have a way to contribute to the design. You can choose the fabric and the buttons and the specific things that you like about other options and combine them all into a custom version that's perfect for you. If you have a need for segments that are more targeted and refined than what's possible with the syndicated system, then segmentation on demand might be the right choice for you. It allows for greater behavioral and attitudinal distinction between segments while retaining all of the same options for external activation. It produces uniquely defined segments, optimized around your behavioral data and what matters most to your business. Unlike other custom segmentation, it's created in a way that allows external activation on prospect lists and other third-party data. It yields all the benefits of a custom build without sacrificing any of the available options for activation. As I mentioned earlier, segmentation on demand can be an appropriate solution regardless of how or if you're currently using any segmentation. Listed here are just some of the situations where segmentation on demand can help you target smarter. Like when you have unique needs. You might offer a very specific service or product that appeals to a distinct subset of the market. Being able to include key behaviors when defining your segments can help boost their performance. Custom segmentation on demand segments can help you find the best customers for your product or your very specific service. Now, maybe you're thinking at this point, well, she's really just describing custom segmentation in general. You're kind of right, but what's truly unique about segmentation on demand is that it's created in such a way that it can be implemented almost anywhere. Unlike other custom segmentation, you might have that works great for segmenting your internal customers, but can't be used outside of your own walls. With segmentation on demand, we're able to implement the resulting custom segments on prospect files and surveys and all kinds of other third-party data sets outside of just your own internal universe. So you may be wondering, how do we do that? How can we create something custom that uses your data, but still be able to implement it elsewhere? We do it by adding your data into the same proven modeling process, multivariate divisive partitioning, that we use to build our Claritas syndicated segmentation systems. That's multivariate divisive partitioning is quite the tongue twister. It always gets me, that one. The resulting segments are optimized around key behaviors that are most important to your business. So if you see on the right, it's all of the inputs to our syndicated systems, the consumer behavior, all the behavioral data that we have available at Claritas, key demographic characteristics, including household assets, technology use, age, income, tenure, presence of children, all of the sort of standard inputs that you're accustomed to with our Claritas segmentation. But the key additional input in a segmentation on demand is that client and custom data that is shared by you and gives us key insights around the behaviors that you really want to optimize your segments around. To give you an example, one candidate for segmentation on demand might be a chain of movie theaters that's introduced those sort of cushy recliner seats, and maybe they also have, in addition to the new lounge chairs, they also have introduced a full menu and a bar menu as well. So they have a full range of service, and it's a different experience that they're wanting to market to their customers. They now have a need for greater differentiation in their segments, right? So they're not just looking to see and to target people who are likely moviegoers, which, as we all know, that's more and more difficult each day. But on top of that, they want to know not just who's going to the movies, but who might be interested in this sort of more upscale experience. In this case, segmentation on demand could be a great fit. Luckily, the company has their own app where they're able to measure attendance and the level of spend. So they have people that are a part of a rewards program, and so they've captured a good stream of data on these people who are visiting these specific locations and are spending at a certain level on food and drinks. So use of this data when optimizing their segmentation model will yield more refined custom segments that they can then use to target more effectively through their various marketing channels. With the segmentation on demand solution, they will have more refined targets, but they'll have all of the same options for activation that were available with their prior syndicated segmentation. They can implement their segmentation on prospect files, reach their new segments through one-to-one digital campaigns, all of the same benefits with even greater performance from their new segments. The resulting data deliverables are all still available too. Segmentation on demand segments can be applied to your customer and prospect files through a zip+6 or zip+4 match. We can also provide distributions or segment-specific counts that show you where specific segments are concentrated geographically. And profile data is available too. So you get all of the various different behavioral insights that help give you that complete picture of your new segments by revealing how likely they are to exhibit a specific behavior or have a certain belief or attitude. Profile counts and indices can be summarized for you in the form of storyboards and a marketing guide to give you a simple way to share the new information within your organization. And now to share a real-life example of segmentation on demand engagement, I'm going to turn things over to Carrie Hodges, one of our analytics consultants. Carrie?
And while we wait for Carrie to put up her slides, we do have a question in the chat box. Can you still do a segmentation on demand project if you don't have your own customer data?
Yes, that's a great question. So we like to use customer data when it's available, but if you don't, we can use other custom sources of information that would, maybe tell us some of the same things about like usage of a product or a service. The key thing is that we're bringing in that unique information that's different from sort of the more standard inputs that go into our syndicated systems. So yes, we still can look for other sources of key specific data to build a segmentation on demand, even without client data.
And we have one more question before we move on. What are the average numbers of households in a zip+4 and zip+6, and how are they impacted when a post office changes zip codes?
That is a great question. I believe a zip+4 is somewhere in the 5 to 15 range. A zip+6 is often a single household, but it can be more than one household in certain areas where it's basically a delivery point code is also what it can be called, and that is where a carrier drops mail. So if you think about single family homes, that's typically a single household and a single mailbox. In some like condo complexes, for example, it might be the 4 units in a single building, something like that. So the Z6 will vary a little bit, but it's typically a single household. And then as far as changes go, our roster changes annually, but there are updates that are done for new housing starts and things like that throughout the year. So we update our roster annually, though, to incorporate those changes.
Great. And Carrie, I think we're ready for you to go.
All right, thank you. Is my screen up?
Sure is.
All right. So what we wanted to do was end the session by showing you a segmentation on demand in action and share a story about a mobile provider client we have who saw success with this type of segmentation. So that's what I'm going to be walking through. So to set the stage, this particular client is a big believer in segmentation in general and its benefits, and had a lot of success using our connections segmentation system for many years. We had built them connection-based target groups for them, and they were very widely adopted internally and very heavily ingrained in their marketing plans. So this opportunity to build them something more custom came out of the depth of that relationship with this client, and in large part because they had been able to demonstrate so much success with connections in the ability to quantify successful results at the campaign level by reducing their spend and increasing their response rates. So the question is, if they're having so much success with connections, why is it that they felt the need to make a change? So there were a couple of reasons. So a few reasons behind their decision that it was time to make a pivot. And those reasons play directly into all of the advantages that Suzanne had been talking about on the previous slide. So for one, they felt that their target groups had become too big. They wanted to create more granular segments based on wireless and mobile behaviors. That's an important distinction to make. So Connections is a system built to be predictive of technology and telco behaviors in general. But to achieve the precision and behavioral granularity this client was looking for with their segments, they needed a system built just for the wireless market, and more specifically, using the wireless behaviors that are relevant to their business. So not being able to essentially micro-segment consumers with Connections had become a roadblock for them. They couldn't get precise enough anymore to achieve the customer acquisition they were looking for. And they needed to remove that roadblock for a couple of reasons. So A, they could be more efficient in their marketing tactics and their marketing spend if they were able to focus more precisely on the prospects that are most likely to convert or most likely to become a customer. And then B, their targets had evolved over time. And now they found that they were buying the same things. That wasn't true in the beginning when we built the segments or built the target groups, but they, over time, lost the ability to differentiate on buying behaviors and create specific offers accordingly and to target accordingly. So a system built specifically for the wireless market using their customer data and also some industry-specific behaviors that we have in-house was the key to creating a more unique, precise, and actionable system for them. So as you can imagine, to make a shift like this, there were some internal hoops that the client needed to jump through in order to shift to this new system and to get the appropriate buy-in internally, which, of course, leads to getting the budget to implement something new like this. So it had to be positioned really carefully internally as a necessary evolution from where they were, instead of something more concrete like a major rip and reinstall. So there were a few things that they knew they were going to have to do to alleviate the resistance to the change. So for one, they needed to convey the need for improvement. It wasn't a change, it was an improvement. That positioning was important. I talked on the previous slide about how ingrained Connections was internally, so they needed to avoid creating a shock to the system with what they were suggesting. And yes, Connections had worked well for them for a long time, but they had gotten to the point where there was an opportunity to have something even more efficient, and they wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. They also needed to convince folks internally that this would be seamless from an implementation standpoint. There was fear that it would be disruptive to existing marketing efforts or existing campaigns. So it was important for them to convey that they were going to be able to implement in all the same ways, and it was going to cause no disruption whatsoever to kind of the way they were used to rolling out their campaigns. And that it would only improve their campaigns, it would only improve their success. It would provide better results and save marketing dollars by adding greater efficiency to their marketing efforts and their campaigns. So how did they handle all of that? So the internal team, I'm supposed to build here, the internal team had to really kind of drive the point home that the system would be more meaningful and more actionable because it would be built and optimized around the wireless industry. And even more specifically, we would be using their customer data, which makes it even more tailored to their business needs. They also leveraged the relationship they had with Claritas. So, pointing out that we're the experts in this space and we'd been a trusted partner of theirs for a long time. There was a long-standing relationship there, so they should leverage our expertise in building this type of segmentation system for them. And that in large part was because it wouldn't disrupt their ability to activate both offline and online. This was a system that they would be able to use in all the same ways they've been able to use Connections, that the segments could be put anywhere they needed them to be, so there was going to be absolutely no loss of actionability on their end. So what we were able to achieve with this particular segmentation were cleaner and more precise targets for the client. I mentioned earlier that we had built them target groups with connections, but with the new target groups, we were able to remove 38% of kind of the noise in their targets. So we were able to remove consumers who looked like the right consumers using connections, but were not actually going to buy. And as a result, the resulting target groups were 17% more likely to be a customer versus the comparable groups that we had built with connections. So in short, we were able to give them a way to find more of the right types of customers more specifically and more efficiently. And along with that added efficiency, they preserved the ability to implement in all the ways they needed to. So they were able to put the segments on their CRM and prospect files. They were able to put them on third-party data so that they could analyze the segments through the lens of a variety of different data sets. We built them a typing tool so that they could field primary research through the lens of the segments as well. And then we also profiled the segments for them. So we wanted to give them a comprehensive view of what these consumers look like, how do they behave in the wireless space, how do they consume media, and that also included geographic insights as well. So the segmentation system tied the segments to the ground as well to help them understand what proportion of the market each segment represented, how big was the opportunity there, and where could they find high concentrations of the types of consumers they were looking for, geographically speaking. And this last slide here kind of gives you a sense of what some of that profiling looked like. This is not real data. This is not their data. This is a blinded example. But you can see the breadth of insights that they were able to consume about each segment. So, starting from a demographic snapshot of what each segment looks like to what carrier they are likely to subscribe to. Like I said, some geographic insights. So that's to help with direct mail campaigns and in-store planning. And then finally, some insights to help them with marketing placement and making smarter media buys, whether that be through digital or through TV or any other medium they may be considering. So, these were insights that they were able to use to socialize the groups internally for one, but this was information they were also able to share with their agency as they planned their marketing campaigns and their marketing efforts. So that was my last slide. Monique, are there any questions?
Yes, let's see here. Can segmentation on demand work for all industries, or is it better suited for specific ones or niche industries?
I mean, it should really be able to work across the board. I mean, the key is just being able to have access to industry-specific behaviors that are going to make that system more meaningful for that business. So as long as those exist, I think segmentation on demand could work for a vast variety of clients.
Okay, and if I already have a custom segmentation solution, can I still benefit from segmentation on demand?
Yeah, you certainly could. So I mean, even this example I just gave, we weren't just throwing their segmentation out the window. We weren't throwing away everything that they knew and were comfortable with internally. We were just able to make a better version of it, make it work better for them. So we can certainly, leverage existing segmentations and kind of take those into consideration as we build something. But yeah, certainly having an existing system would not preclude you from being a good seg on demand candidate at all.
Okay, and last question that we have for now, just a reminder for those of you in the audience, if you do have questions or comments, you can go ahead and type them into the questions box and we'll get to as many as we can. But this question is, were you provided with the client's internal data of their customers?
Yes, we were. That was a critical piece to this. As Suzanne said before, we can still build something really great without it. It just depends on the industry. But in this case, they were able to provide us customer data, which really helped us very specifically tailor it to their business.
Yeah, I think, there's other sources for some of the behavioral data, but if there are things like an internal value score or some other internal measurement that we can't find externally, that's where there's added value when we do have that available. But a lot of the behavioral things, there are other sources and other places we can look for that. And we can even field custom research to get to behaviors and attitudes that we may not already have access to. So that's, I know, been a part of some proposals that we've done for Seg on Demand as well.
Perfect. And Suzanne, I think you were going to wrap us up.
Yeah,
Right.
we just had one more slide. Thanks, Carrie. I think that was a great example of how segmentation on demand in that case was a perfect fit. So I'm just going back to an earlier slide to bring us around to the end that, there's a lot of situations where segmentation on demand can be a good fit. I think even some of the questions that we've gotten today kind of are some of you trying to figure that out and trying to see if it might be the right fit for you. You definitely, as we said, don't have to necessarily have specific inputs. You don't have to be a current segmentation user even. This can be an approach that's used for your first take on segmentation. And it doesn't have to be this huge endeavor either. I think that's sometimes the perception that, oh, it must be really expensive or it must, take months to build. I think there's, depending on the need and depending on the goals that we have for the project, it can span a period of time, but it can be, we can take a simpler approach too. So it doesn't, I would say don't have, preconceived ideas in your mind about what segmentation on demand might cost or what it might entail. I think there are a lot of, it's just an approach and there's a lot of different ways to go about it. So that's really kind of all that we had today. I know we just took a couple questions. I don't know if we have more, but we do have more time for questions if you all
Yes,
have any more questions.
You sort of just answered this one. Someone was asking what the turnaround time on a project is, and it sounds like it can vary just depending on what your needs are, what the scope of the project is.
Yeah, I would say, Carrie, I don't know if we had to like ballpark it 6 or 8 weeks. I don't know. I mean, it really can vary, but do you have a sense for what you would call an average?
Yeah, that's probably towards the low end, but we could turn something around in that time frame, generally speaking.
And again, it depends on, I think we talked through a lot of different deliverables that are available. So that can add to the timeline. If we're going to build and deliver the segmentation with just a directory, that might be one thing. But if we're going to build additional profile sets and we're going to make the data available to you in our software platform and things like that, it can take a little bit longer. That's something that I don't think we mentioned in the presentation, but all of these deliverables that we spoke of that are, similar to what you receive with our syndicated systems, they are all also available to you or can be available to you in our Claritas 360 platform as well. So it really is, as Carrie was saying, a similar experience to what her client had in the past with connections. It's just a more customized version that we created just for them.
And we had another question. Do you segment this data using k-means clustering?
It's not exactly k-means, and this is where Carrie and I are not statisticians. So it's a proprietary technique, the multivariate divisive partitioning, which is a type of cart regression, I believe is the right way to say it. We can get you some follow-up information on more specifically how the modeling works. I apologize for not being able to more articulately describe that.
All right, I think we have come to the end of our questions for now. Feel free to type any additional ones in the chat box if we don't get to them live. We do always follow up with you offline. So I will wrap us up then. Thank you for that presentation, ladies. It was awesome. And thank you to our audience. Hopefully you learned a few new things today and your interest is even more piqued than when you signed up for the webinar. Again, if you liked what you saw today and you want to spread the word on your social media, use that hashtag Claritas webinars. But we'd also like the opportunity to talk with you even more about whether or not segmentation on demand is just the solution you need to take your business to the next level so you can sell smarter and win bigger. So when you log off today, you'll notice a survey pop up from us. We would be most appreciative if you can take just a few moments to answer those questions. It should only take probably about 2 minutes of your time, but it's useful for us to make sure that we continue to improve our webinars each time that we do them. And we hope to hear from you guys in the future. Happy Hump Day, everyone.